So once you are done with your scarf, you will need to cast your stitches off your needles, which will give you a finished edge so that your scarf doesn't unravel from itself. So let's pretend that this is a finished scarf. It's a very small scarf, but we're going to pretend it's a finished scarf here. The way we cast these stitches off is we're going to knit the first stitch, just like we normally would, knit the second stitch just like we normally would, but before we move on, we're going to take that first stitch that we knit, we're going to pass it over the second stitch and off the needle, and that will lock this stitch in place. So let me show you. You stick your needle underneath that stitch, kind of stretch it up a bit, pass it over that other stitch and off the needle, and you see it wraps around the base of this stitch and keeps it in place. So then we just knit the next stitch, then that previous stitch that was on there, we lift it up and over the other stitch and off the needle. And then we just knit the next stitch and do the same thing. The previous needle that was on the stitch gets passed over the other needle and off the edge. And you just do this until you get all the way to the end of your row. And then all of your stitches will be locked in place and your scarf won't unravel itself. Alright, so knit the stitch, take the previous stitch, lift it up and over and off the end of the needle. And when you get to your last stitch, you simply just cut your yarn, leave a bit of a tail. I think typically they say 6 inches or so, just, we'll say right there. And then pull it through, and you've got your finished edge. Easy as that. Now, when you are done, you've got 2 pieces of yarn here that you got to do something with. This was where we first started. This was the tail end when we first started knitting, and this was the tail when we finished knitting. Now, you can take a yarn needle, which is like a regular needle, just a little bit bigger with a fatter eye so that the yarn fits through it, and weave these in, which I can show you in another video. But typically for scarves, what I do is I like to add fringe to the end of my scarf. So these end pieces I don't worry about because they just get lost in the fringe anyway, so there's no need to try to hide them, weave them in. So to add fringe, I'll show you on this other scrap piece that I have here. You just cut a bunch of lengths of yarn, or a bunch of pieces of yarn, all the same length, okay? And what I like to do for each section of fringe, I like to have 3 pieces of yarn. So you take 3 pieces of yarn that are all the same length. These are about, let me measure here. These are about 10 inches in length, so that when I fold them in half, they become 5 inches on either side, okay? So you're going to fold this in half, make kind of a loop here, and you are going to need one additional tool, which is a crochet hook, okay? Take your crochet hook, push it through the fabric wherever you want the fringe to be, hook through the loop of those pieces of fringe, and pull them through. Now when you get kind of a loop pulled up here, you take the ends, tuck them through that loop, and tighten it into a knot, and you've got fringe. Easy as that. And you put however many rows of or sections of fringe across the bottom row and the top row as you want. Easy as that.